Chapter 5. While the decoration of the protruding parts was reserved for the carver of images, the ceramist was responsible for decorating the floors of the cathedral. It was usually paved or tiled with baked and painted terracotta slabs coated with a leaden glaze. In the Middle Ages, this art had acquired enough perfection to ensure that the historical subjects had a sufficient variety of designs and colors. Small multicolored cubes were also used in the style of Byzantine mosaics. Among the most frequently used motifs are the labyrinths, which were traced on the ground at the intersection of the nave and the transepts. The churches of Saint-Roch, Auxerre, Saint-Quentin, Poitiers, and Bayeux have kept their labyrinths. In the one in Amiens, we noticed in the center a large slab encrusted with a gold bar and a semicircle of the same metal, representing the sunrise above the horizon. The golden sun was later replaced by a copper one, which in turn disappeared without ever being replaced. As for the Chartres labyrinth, vulgarly called la lieu, the league, for la lieu, the place, and drawn on the pavement of the nave, it consists of a large series of concentric circles that fold into each other with an infinite variety. At the center of this figure was once the battle of Theseus and the Minotaur. This is further proof of the infiltration of pagan subjects into Christian iconography and consequently of an obvious mytho-hermetic meaning. However, there is not our intention to establish any relationship between these images and the famous constructions of antiquity, the labyrinths of Greece and Egypt. The labyrinths of cathedrals, or Solomon's labyrinth, is, says Marcion Berthelot, a Kabbalistic figure that is at the head of some alchemical manuscripts, and which is part of the magical traditions attributed to the name of Solomon. It is a series of concentric circles interrupted at certain points so as to form a strange and inextricable path. As for the Chartres labyrinth, vulgarly called la lieu, the league, for la lieu, the place, and drawn on the pavement of the nave, it consists of a large series of concentric circles that fold into each other with an infinite variety. At the center of this figure was once the battle of Theseus and the Minotaur. This is further proof of the infiltration of pagan subjects into Christian iconography and consequently of an obvious mytho-hermetic meaning. However, there is not our intention to establish any relationship between these images and the famous constructions of antiquity, the labyrinths of Greece and Egypt. The labyrinths of cathedrals, or Solomon's labyrinth, is, says Marcion Berthelot, a Kabbalistic figure that is at the head of some alchemical manuscripts, and which is part of the magical traditions attributed to the name of Solomon. It is a series of concentric circles interrupted at certain points so as to form a strange and inextricable path. The image of the labyrinth is therefore emblematic of the whole labor of the work, with its two major difficulties, that of the path that must be followed to reach the center, where the hard struggle of the two natures is fought, the other, the path that the artist must follow to get out of it. It is here that the thread of Ariadne becomes necessary for him, if he does not want to wander among the meandering paths of the work without succeeding in discovering its outcome. Is not our soul the spider that weaves our own body? But this word also appears in other forms. The verb means to take, seize, lead, attract. Hence, what takes, seizes, attracts. So is the lodestone, the virtue enclosed in the body that the wise men call their magnesia. Let's continue. In Provençal, iron is called aran and iran, according to the different dialects. He is the Masonic Hiram, the divine ram, the architect of the Temple of Solomon, the Philibre, called the spider aragno and aragno. In Picard, it is called aragni. Compare all that with the Greek, which means iron or lodestone. This word has both meanings. That's not all. The verb expresses the rising of a star. It comes out of the sea. From where? Arian, the star that comes out of the sea, which rises, or Ariane, is therefore the Orient by permutation of vowels. In addition, also has the meaning to attract, so is also the lodestone, going back to which has given the Latin sidu, sideris, star. We still recognize our Provençal, Aran, Iran, Aryan, Greek, the rising sun. Ariadne, the mystical spider, escaped from Amiens, only left a trace of her web on the pavement of the choir. Let us recall, by the way, that the most famous of the ancient labyrinths, that of Knossos in Crete, which was discovered in 1902 by Dr. Evans of Oxford, was called Absolum. However, we will point out that this term is close to absolute, which is the name by which the ancient alchemists referred to the philosopher's stone. Astrological chart shows the web of resonance hexed upon you at birth. From the planet's orbit that must be unraveled, the key of Solomon is the key to each one's chart. On top of this web is the linguistic web, and then the genetic web, and then the technological web. They put a hex on 5, creating the 6th sickle. The Tower of Babel is the tour, the trick, as Fulcanelli puts it, the turn of events. The torus we make is the manipulated 5, to turn in on itself instead of forever glide. This tour we are on of repeat witness, view, lie, efficacious carcass is the spirit raised, lost, turned head and back into, as the tool puts it, to apple-bottom jeans, taking us to L as the forefathers of the next reset. Those faces, royalty-bound, unless we interrupt this with our collective sounds. Homotaklias, hollow you, hollow me.